Welcome, everybody, to episode 65 of Two Goalies, One Mic. I'm Johnny Cullen, joined alongside Dwayne Steinell, as always. And we have a very special guest, somebody we've been hoping to get on for a while, one of me and Dwayne's idols watching growing up. Jonas Enroth is kind enough to join us here. An 8-year NHL career and many more in the KHL and across other pro leagues. Taken in the second round back in the 2006 NHL draft, 46th overall by the Buffalo Sabres. And what a lucky pick that turned out to be. And it changed my way of looking at goalies coming in, and somebody that I took a lot of pride watching. So, Jonas, thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. We really appreciate it, man. And it's going to be fun talking to you.
Yeah, Jonas, I
thanks for
appreciate
having me. We've been trying to set this up for a couple of days now. I'm glad we finally got a chance to chat for a little bit.
It's pretty funny because when we were originally chatting, I assumed we were talking about your time zone over in Sweden, and I called Cully. I'm like, yeah, man, I got the interview locked down for Monday, but we gotta wake up at like 7 in the morning to prepare. And I remember Cully was just like, "Oh, son of a bitch! Like, we gotta wake up that early." I was like, "Yeah, we gotta wake up that early."
It was more of, Jonas, do you have children?
No, I don't.
So I have 2 baby girls, and let's just say the mornings are more chaotic than a 5-on-3 for a full 2 minutes in the crease, right? You're just they're ready to go right away. But no, they're the best. No, so really, really appreciate you taking the time to get us on. So, I mean,
yeah, of course.
We're a big Sabres podcast, but we're also a goalie-centric podcast. We've been really lucky to have guys on like Grant Fuhr, who are my Steve Shields, Clint Malarchuk, so some of the Sabres greats.
Marty has been on with us. Just to try and go down the list here. Obviously, we just had Eric Portillo, who's a Sabres draft pick. Also, from your homeland over in Sweden. There's been a long list of goalies, as they're calling. We've had a lot. Eddie Lack, another Swedish goalie, he's been on with us.
Wow.
Yeah, Eddie was fun. I think he's doing real estate now, but he's
Eddie strikes me. Tell me if I'm wrong, Jonas. Eddie strikes me as the kind of guy that'll be successful no matter what he does.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I actually grew up playing against him. We are the same age, and we're both from Stockholm. So I think first time I played against him, I was probably around 12 years old. So I've known him a long time already.
So I always started out by getting into it because every goalie, right, we have that moment where we strap up the pads for the first time, right? And there's plenty that do, and that's it. They take their turn in house league, and it's not for them. But for some of us, it's love at first sight. But it happens differently for every goalie. For example, Malcolm Subban, a kid that I played against in the OHL, he didn't start playing goalie till he was 12 or 13. We all have our path to the position. Can you tell us and our fans a little bit about how you came to become a goaltender?
I think I have an older brother that played hockey, and obviously he needed someone to shoot at, I think. And I guess I just jumped into the net and played goal for him. And I loved it since then. I love the position and I love the gear and all that stuff. So I think I probably started to play goalie right away, but I played out as a forward on a different team too, probably till I was 13 years old too.
You're going to love this because in the background, you'll see my Spitfires jersey, but then that over here is my brother's Quinnipiac jersey. I had an older brother. He's an 84 birth year, and he was a goalie. So it was kind of the same idea, right? Like I just wanted to be him. We always needed somebody to shoot at. And it's always funny. People ask me, well, did you want to be a goalie to be like your brother? And my answer was no. I wanted to be better than him. So it's always nice having that, in the family, right? You always have that competition with your brother. So that's cool. Dwayne, I could see you have that smile on your face as soon as you said that. I could see you have that smile on your face as soon as you said that.
No. For me, it was literally the exact same thing. Like, it started in the driveway. Definitely started in the driveway. You know, he was never like a Sabres fan, even though we grew up in Buffalo. He always picked oddball goalies to like. He like not John Van Beesbroek was an oddball goalie, but in Buffalo it kind of was. It was like when he played for Florida. He liked Felix Potvin, and that made me kind of a Felix Potvin fan. And then obviously that transcended to Hasek. But like I remember, man, just strapping up the old plastic Milek goalie pads, the full side of them, baseball mitt for your glove, a starter jacket for your chest protector. You know, the old Franklin Street hockey helmet, and him just ripping slap shots as hard as he could at me. You know, being the younger brother, it was so much fun, man. I'll never forget. I'll always cherish those times. But that's how it started for me. And it's all history from there. From going from Hasek.
History.
Yep.
What I was gonna say is, and we'll get to a little bit later on. And one thing that's fascinated me, because now that I'm a full-time goalie coach, Jonas, is becoming a student of the game, right? And you see it. I played in the OHL, and in my last year, they banned European goalies, right? And their thinking we're losing the U20 World Championships. It's because of our goalies, and it was moronic. And I ended up writing an article on it. But I wanted to ask you later about just what the Swedes and the Finns have done so well with goalie development. But first off, wanted to take a look at your path that found your way into Buffalo. Obviously, you had a ton of success over. Is it Soder? How do I say it? Sodertage?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Sodertage.
We know it's terrible.
Yes.
But what was your time like in I know it's a different setup, in the SEL and the Swedish Junior League. Just kind of take us through what that was like. Is that your hometown?
It's not my hometown, but it's like 30 minutes from my hometown, so it was pretty close. But I still had to actually take a train with my older brother to the practice and to the games and all that stuff, actually. So I played there as a first year junior, I think, and then I got moved up to the big
you
team.
Would have been 16. You would have been
played pro.
16.
Yeah, so I started to play pro pretty early. I think probably around 17, and played there for 2 more years. And obviously, I got drafted when I was 17, 18, I think, and. Came over to Portland and Buffalo pretty right away when I turned 20. I think these days the European goalies like to stay home a couple more years, but I wanted to come over and play a lot of games in the AHL and really try to get my way into the NHL that way.
And that was one of those weird time periods for Buffalo, because we've always had our mainstay AHL franchise has always been in Rochester. And I think, correct me if I'm not, was that when we kind of split a team with, or Florida also had their players playing along with Portland at some time? Like, I think they did.
No, I think Florida took over Rochester.
Or was it that?
Yeah, Florida took over Rochester, and Buffalo moved to Portland. And we were there for 3 years, and that happened to be all my 3 years in the minor league that time. Portland was awesome. It was a great city. It was very cool to play up there in New England, actually.
I've spent a ton of time in New England, and especially now, playing and coaching for the different summer tournaments. But Canada has its own way with hockey. And Minnesota, but New England is very special in that way, right? They're very passionate. But you come in 2008 and then 2009, and you play 58 games, 48 games, and the AHL doesn't get the respect it deserves nowadays. It's a grind. It's a very hard league. Everybody this is their livelihood, and they're trying to get to the next step. what impresses me most, Jonas, is you had dazzling numbers, 275 goals against average with a 914 save percentage, and then you follow it up the next year with a 237 and a 919. Talk to us a little bit about what that was like, coming from the big rink, right, and into the smaller rink. I know for me, I call it viewpoints, right, like focal points where the blue line meets the boards, you know what I'm talking about, where it's different on a bigger ice. And what was that transition like for you, and how were you able to have so much success right away?
Yeah, I think first of all, I think the Sabres really wanted me to play a lot of games, so they pushed me into that situation. I think, like you said, first year I played 58 games, and on top of that, I was called up for, I want to say, a month. So I pretty much played every game in the A that year, and really had to learn how to play on a smaller ice surface. But the thing is, I think it's easier to go from a big ice surface to a small rink than going the other way around. So for me, it wasn't that big of a difference, I guess, coming over from Europe to American League. I felt like I could pick it up pretty quick.
And what you just said, it's easier coming from a bigger ice to a smaller ice. I can be a testament to that. I played in U18 Ivan Hlinka tournament in the Czech Republic. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I played in that one too.
Yeah, so that was my first experience on the big ice, and coming from a smaller to a bigger ice, it's like I said, it really messed with my entry points, my focal points. And the coolest thing for me, Jonas, was we were playing in Bratislava and Piecny, and that was the first time I got to experience the drums. You know, the guys up in the top of the stands playing the drums in the stands. So it was a really cool experience, and obviously I struggled, and we got our fudge packed by Sweden and Russia and Canada, but not able to come away with a medal. But just an awesome experience, just getting to see Prague and some of those countries, and having that little bit of a taste of the bigger rink in European hockey. So that's awesome. But go ahead.
I gotta go get a phone charger. Actually, I'm down to 10% on my phone.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go what you gotta do.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute.
You're good. Okay. You're good. Take your time.
Yeah. But while we wait for Jonas, you always bring up that Gretzky Hlinka tournament. It's pretty cool to have a goalie on the show that's actually played in that along with you, so you guys can go back and forth about that experience.
Wait, not only that, there's 2 U18 tournaments. There's one early in like March and April, and then Ivan Hlinka's later in the summer in August. He played in both. How crazy is that?
That's insane. That's wild.
So when he comes back, I'd love to talk to him about that one start he made in 2009. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You good to go?
He's got to get his earbuds in.
All right.
So
we're back. Sorry, guys.
No, but you're good. You're good. The crazy thing for me is you come off of those 2 good years, but then you get your first sniff of the National League in that second year, 2009, 2010. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what was it like and how the game went there?
Yeah. So the second year I got my first game in, right? I think, well, I know we played against Boston in Boston, which was pretty cool.
Hey, welcome to the National League. You're going to be playing at the Garden.
Exactly, and I lived in Portland, so I pretty much followed the Bruins pretty good during those years. But I remember Mark Recchi scored on his first shot against me, like 3 minutes into the game. I think he tipped it right in front of me from a point shot from Chara, actually. So that was pretty cool to have him score on your first shot, I guess. But I think we Boston. I think Boston won it that year. So obviously Boston was a really good year, a really good team.
Yeah, they were a wagon.
We lost, unfortunately, 4-2. But I ended up making 37 saves, and I played pretty well in that game. I remember.
I remember watching, Dwayne, and me and you talked about this. It was so refreshing to just see so many guys come in their first game, and it seems the moment seems too big. And against a powerhouse, a cup favorite like that, for Jonas to not only give his team a chance to win, but to really shine. I remember that being so cool for me, and it was awesome. So props to you on that, man. That must have been special.
The one thing I remember most about that, though, too, and what made me a big Enroth fan, and Cully, I know me and you have talked about this, is his size. We're part of a dying breed of goalies that were under 6 foot. That and Yoni, you gave us hope. You gave guys like Cully hope that we can make it in the national, and not me per se, but him for sure.
Man, I got to share the story now.
He's got to tell you the sock story.
So,
I guess.
Remember, how during our draft year, the NHL Central Scouting guys come to measure and weigh us?
Yeah.
So it was my rookie year for the Ice Dogs, and they show up in Erie, and I didn't know what's going on. They're like, hey, the NHL guys here are to measure us for our profiles. And I may be 5'10" and 3/8. So what I did is right away I grabbed all my socks, all my Gitch socks, and I put on like 9 pairs, which would get me to 6 foot, right? So I'm up next, Jonas, and I'm waiting, and they say, all right, Colin, you're up next. And then I'm about to step up, I get weighed, and then right before I got measured, they say, all right, barefoot, and I'm there with 8 pairs of socks. They didn't want to wheel them off in front of these guys. So immediately I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom. So I get it out of there, and I took the socks off, got measured at 5'10". But it is what it is. But no, Dwayne, you make an excellent point. I think after you, Jonas, there was a stretch. I know in my 3 draft years, 2009, 10, 11, there really wasn't anybody taken under 6 foot. Mikey DiPietro broke that mold a few years ago, the kid in Vancouver. But, I mean, it meant a lot to us, right? Because we went, especially you lived through that, let's call it the post-lockout period, where you had the Jaguars, right? And these guys with huge gear and just being more of a blocking style. And you proved that, with your speed and your ability to read plays and stay out in the white ice and still be able to, prevent that backside, it was awesome. And it was an inspiration to a young goalie like me. And I can't, there's countless others, I'm sure. So just another couple of clicks for Jonas, Dwayne, because he paved the way for us shorter goalies.
All right.
That's awesome.
No, go ahead, Yoni.
I was just going to say, I've that idea crossed my mind a lot of times too during training camps when I was step up to the measuring tape, but I never actually went through with it. But you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Cully's got a lot of stories. I think that one's definitely my favorite. I give him shit a lot about some of the stories. And, he can't put the yearbook away, but I'll always encourage him to tell that one when we've chanced. I think it's hilarious.
Hey, Yoni, I haven't been able to cut the cord. You know what I mean? I'm still hanging on. I'm still wearing my team Gitch. Hey, the one good thing about being a suitcase and getting traded 4 times, I have 4 sets of team Gitch, so I could just cycle through, Windsor one day, Niagara the next, Sarnia the other. Dwayne, did we just have a comment pop up?
Yeah, just saying David Smith here has got a signed puck from Yoni. It's funny. I have one too. Actually, it's kind of fun. I was gonna bring it up. It's because you brought up Portland. It's a Portland Pirates Jonas Enroth autograph puck.
Oh, I love it.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's cool.
Dwayne, how's his autograph?
Barely legible.
Hold it up. See if we can see it.
Barely legible.
All right,
it's so quick though. It takes me like a second to do it. So.
Oh yeah.
So Jonas, I started my own charity. You know when they send you to, maybe you didn't have this, but you know how when they send you to schools to read to the kids and you sign for the classroom, right? So I started doing this in Windsor. It was called Cully's Kids because, you know, it was right next to Detroit. It was very downtrodden, right, on tough times. So we donated some 250,000 books. So here I am, and I would, you know, go read to 3 classrooms, sign 90 cards, and that would be it. And then we got a phone call after one of my readings. These kids during lunch started fighting over, because only 3 classrooms got the cards. They started fighting over them. So the solution that the Spitfires came up with was they gave me a stack of 500, and I had to sign whatever school I went to. I had to sign for all the kids. So my autograph went from like all full letters to JC33. You know what I mean? Real quick.
Yeah. It gotta be a quick one. It gotta be an easy one to do.
Yep.
So going back to the Sabres, what was it like getting sent back to Portland? You know, did you know that after you had your sniff in the National League?
Yeah, I knew I was going back. I think they only called me up to play that game. So they called me up. I went down to Boston the night before, played that game, and then I went back up to Portland right after the game pretty much. So I think that was the plan for me to get at least one game in that season. And then next year they were going to give me a bigger chance or a better chance to play. That next year they pretty much called me up every time Millsy had to rest. So
right. Well, and it makes sense because the year that you came up for that first game, Miller played 66 and they had Lalime. So you would have been better off playing, 58, whatever it was in the American versus, Riding Pine playing 7,
Yeah, exactly. That was a good plan, I think. Looking back at it, was probably the right move to do.
Dwayne, can you pull that comment back up? So from David Smith, honestly, my second favorite goalie ever to watch. Of course, Ryan Miller is my inspiration. David, we appreciate the comment. Now this has become a full pro Jonas Enroth podcast. We will not accept that slander anymore. So Dwayne, you might have to get rid of that half jersey behind you.
No, you remember when obviously it was like during that whole when Twilight was a big thing. Remember the movie Twilight was in theaters, and it was always that what was it? Those 2 characters, is Edward and the guy who played the werewolf. There was like Team Edward and Team whatever that guy's name was. I remember that transcended
Jacob.
Okay, yeah, that transcended over to Buffalo at one point, and we had Team Miller and Team Enroth for like a while there. And I remember specifically there were T-shirts in the arena because I was a season ticket holder, my cousin, and there were people wearing Team Enroth jerseys and Team Miller jerseys. It was wild and it was fun. It was pretty cool. But I'm not going to say which team I was on, but I will say this, Jonas, man. Like I said before, you gave guys like me and Cully a reason to believe that we were probably better than what we were, and. Again, one of the last of one of the shorter under 6 foot goaltenders. It was always fun to watch you, man. I always enjoyed, and I tried like taking bits and pieces from your game as much as I possibly could because again, I was a smaller goaltender, and B, I went on to coach later in life, and I tried to teach the kids I taught little bits and pieces of your style because again, you were a smaller goaltender. A lot of these kids I coached, they weren't very big at all.
Now to piggyback off that, Jonas. For me, my ABCs, when we have rest periods, I do my breathing technique. I would always tell myself, hands in front, white ice, be a warrior, right? And I'm curious for you, your ability to read plays allowed you to play a little bit, I want to say deeper for a smaller guy. What are some things that like allowed you to do that, allowed you to slow the game down, allowed you to play the way you did as a smaller goaltender?
Yeah, I was gonna say I never really tried to be outside the paint too much, but I guess my one of my strengths are my patient. I always try to stay on my edges as long as I can, and that's something I've been trying to work on my whole career. I remember vividly doing that when I was younger too, and maybe that's the reason why I could be able to play on that level, that on top level, and try to just wait and read the game instead of trying to just go down and try to block or anything like that.
I always tell the bigger goalies I train that are 6'5" plus, must be nice, hey boys?
Yeah,
No,
I know.
but
I always say that too.
piggybacking off that, I've been trying to get a lot of my younger goalies to get away from off the rush, those, violent C cuts with, a very, I like to say a calm lower body, quiet feet. I call it the butt drop, where you're able to, sit down into your stance and have calm feet for that backwards momentum. Is that something that you incorporated in?
Uh, can you define that, or
So
I don't really understand
instead
that
of
one?
so off of a rush, instead of coming out and using C cuts where we could get caught on the wrong C cut on the pass across, more standing straight up, dropping our butt and staying on our edges as we glide backwards.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't really try to have too much extra movement in my game. I want to be
No
like set
wasted
when the shot
movement
is
is what I
taken,
say.
and I think exactly you don't want to be drifting too much out there. So to me, I try to um, not move too much during the game or during the rush.
And I'm sorry I worded it weirdly, but that's one thing Dwayne and I talked about that stuck out about your game. For being a smaller guy, there really was no wasted movement, right? You can make the acrobatic save if you needed to, but it was almost like that in control, calm feeling to that game where positionally, I know I'm going to be sound. I know I'm going to have active hands, and I'm going to put myself in a good spot. So apologies the way I worded the question. You answered it perfectly. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I think you can definitely see like how the smaller goalies are playing. That's the way I think every goalie should play. If you look at Saros, he's very technical sound, and he doesn't really make too many mistakes during games. And also a different goalie that I like to watch a lot is Jonathan Bernier too.
Yeah.
Their
How
technique is
about the
like
resurgence of
perfect,
his
and
career,
their
right?
skating is so good.
How about the resurgence of Bernier's career, right?
Sorry.
Like I said, how about the resurgence, and Bernier being able to still stay in the league and do
Yeah.
well, right? Like the best goalies, the best coaches, the best players find a way to adapt, right? And speaking on that, I'm sorry, I'll let you get the next question. But with the use of the RVH coming in, like when I played in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, we had the VH, right? It never felt comfortably me on the blocker post. So I used a bit of I used double coverage outside. But I've been noticing with the RVH, the reason it made me think of it is the way that UC Saros is able to not only be able to go RVH to RVH post to post, but to be able to go RVH from a pass flow to high out to his feet. It's incredible.
Yeah, definitely. It's a tool that when you use it the right way, it works very, very well. I remember trying. I remember one summer, a lot of different Swedes started to play that way, and I went back home for the summer and contacted one of the goalie coaches that taught that style, and I really worked on it one summer. And then I came back, and me and Milsey worked on it pretty much every day during that season. And yeah, like I said, you really need to use it in the proper way. Otherwise, it's going to be
And how
easier.
many times have we seen, not only in the playoffs but in the year, guys misusing it or using it in
Yeah.
the wrong situations? And to me, I think we're starting to see, in the pregame write-ups that the goalie coaches give on the opposing goalies. I think we're starting to see that where goalies are staying in it too long. Different story on that RVH goal last night that slipped through Price's, you want to call it a 6-hole, different scenario. But like you said, I think it's something that's, when used correctly, can be a great tool, right? But there's a lot of overuse of it that I think, like with anything, right? When the Butterfield first came out, it was used too much, right? When the VH first came out, it was used too much, right? So it'll be interesting to see how the position evolves with regards to the proper use of the RVH.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, Dwayne, go ahead, buddy.
No, he brought up, obviously, I remember, when I first got into coaching, I grew up kind of in that era before, that was ever a thing, VH, RVH. I remember one of my second classroom sessions, they started talking about the RVH and VH, and I'm kind of there, and everyone's kind of nodding their head. I'm just looking around like, yo, what is everybody talking? What is it? And I was so embarrassed to put my head like, what's an RVH? What's a VH? But after sitting there listening to it, and then obviously, going and applying it to my own game and really, really studying a little bit, it's like it has its, I think in today's game, you see it you don't see it used correctly in a lot of situations. I personally, I'm a big fan of the VH on my glove side, but it is very. I wish I would have known that was more of a thing, and that was when I played, because it does help your game quite a bit, especially on those in tight situations. And I just remember being so embarrassed, eventually just having to be like, talks like, hey man, like I don't mean to be like sound stupid here, but what's an RVH? And then them explaining it to me, I was like, I had no clue what they were talking about. But no, go ahead.
It's funny that you bring that up, because I played with Jonathan Quick too in LA, obviously, and I remember one of my first couple practice with them. I asked him after one of the practices, like, how did you come up with your RVH and all that stuff? And he just looked at me and was like, what is RVH? I have no idea what you're talking about right now. So even Quick didn't even know RVH, and people are saying that he's the guy that invented it, but he had no idea what I was talking about. He just played it the way he felt like he should be playing that situation.
So they tried to give him credit for being the guy who originated the RVH, but when you were trying to explain it to him, he's like, I don't know. That's pretty funny.
So
yeah, he pretty much just said that I'm just do whatever feels right on this side, and on the other side I do. He does more VH on his glove side too, actually.
Yeah, I'm a big VH.
And
I feel
on his blocker side is
it's more comfortable for me, the VH. It just is. I don't know, like the RVH had, when it's in real tight, it does help quite a bit. I just see there's laziness on some of these goals you see where they don't get their heads tight to the post, and you let those goals, they're goal scorers goals. It's a fancy goal that you pick your spot and you just have that much room to shoot, and they'll score and stuff. But 10 times out of 10, if the goalie is getting his height close to the pipe, that goal doesn't go in 10 times out of 10. And it's always I just don't like it when it's used in situations where it's far out past the face-off dot. There's no reason for you to be down in your RVH there. Get up on your feet, play the puck that way. It's just you see that happen a lot, and it shouldn't. But I don't like to say I'm more of like a hybrid style. I'm old now. I'm old. I'm the oldest person in this podcast. I'm an 87, but I still have too much of that old stand-up style in me still. But it's I prefer to stay on my feet as much as I possibly can.
Dwayne, they don't ask how. They ask
same
how
here.
many,
I think it's
they ask how many we save.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
The same thing with Hasek back there. No,
I think it's.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's important to try to stay on your feet as long as you can, especially if you're not too big of a guy. So I try to stay on my feet a lot too, and every time I make a save standing up during a game, I always get so pumped up.
Right? Like I don't know, man. I find it easier for me to track the puck better that way too. I don't know. It's just
not only that. We're like the thing I'm working on is these kids are when anytime the puck crosses the Royal Road, from one side to the other, they're almost instinctually taught now to slide. But for me, if it's above the dots, let's start on our feet. We can always drop into it, right? And what I try to explain to him is it's not going to be a tape-to-tape pass or a one-time every time, where if we're on our knees and we slide, adjusting gets really tough. But if we're on our feet getting across and it goes skate to stick, now we're able to make that small adjustment, right? Whereas when we're on our knees, it's more of a best guess,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We got a question here too. Another one from David. Where are you living now, Jonas? You are currently in Buffalo right now. I remember you mentioned earlier that your wife is from Buffalo, but are you still? Do you mainly live still in Sweden?
Yeah, exactly. I still play over in Sweden, so I live there during the season, obviously, and then usually I come back to Buffalo in the summers.
Okay. You brought up. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Cully.
No, I was just going to talk about, you get that first game and then you go back to Portland to start the next year, come back and get 14 games played. And then that 2011-12 season, right? You're able to get in there and, I don't want to say split, but, Miller played, 61, you played 26. And on that team, you played with some of my good buddies, Zach Cassian. I know Mike Weber through running the Spitfire skates. Cody Hodgson, I played against in junior. Marcus Foligno is a good friend of mine. It's just really cool for me. What was that group like?
Yeah, I think that year we had a very good team. I want to say that
39, 32, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first year the Pegulas took over, I think, and we felt like we had a good chance right away. I remember I had a pretty good start of the season and played most of my games in the first half of the season, and then I didn't play too well after Christmas, I think, and I didn't play much after that. But I think we saw ourselves like a good contender that year, or maybe that was the next year. But it was one of those years that the first year the Pegulas came in, obviously we signed players that we obviously had high hopes for, but it didn't turn out like everyone hoped. But I'm sure everyone knows who we signed that year, but we felt like we were a very, very good team that year.
His name is Billy Schmano. No, but it's funny to bring that up, Jonas, because it was Luke Adam, Zach Cassian, Marcus Foligno, and Corey Trop. Remember Corey Trop? So at the time, Kevin Adams I think he was a part in the player development, but you know where Leisure Rinks is in Orchard Park?
Yeah.
So every morning at 6 a.m., I would go out for those four guys. And that was the year before Luke Adam had that really good year. But that was the best thing that ever happened to me because, there weren't goalie-friendly drills, boys. You know what I mean? We're talking rapid shot. I was there to be a puck dummy. But I battled, and I made a good impression on John Cristiano and Kevin Adams at the time. And I really, I owe everything to that by getting me my first NHL rookie camp. The funny part is, though, is when you guys got Cody Hodgson, it was after his back surgery, right? The thing for me is crazy. You know Matt Duchene, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Matt Duchene played on the Avalanche, now on Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
So him and Cody Hodgson played together in Brampton and junior. And before Cody's back surgery, he was just as good, if not better. And he got a ton of hate over that, and everybody hated him. And I just wish, and you could say this about a ton of NHL guys, I just wish we would have gotten to see a healthy Cody Hodgson in the National League, because he was something special in that league. He was right on par with the Tavarises and all the guys in that league. He was so good. But by the time that he got to Buffalo with the back injury, it was very tough. But it looks like a great group. TJ Brennan, awesome guy. He kind of took me under his wing at rookie camp. I have nothing but good things to say about him. I'm happy he got his sniff. You remember about how he bounced around the AHL forever, right? I was really happy to see him.
He was a great player.
Great guy, too. Great guy. What was that like, though? Did you have a good relationship with Ryan Miller then?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Ryan helped me a lot. He obviously is a great person, and I only have good things to say about him. It was awesome to see him prepare for games every day, prepare for practice every day. He was a true professional pretty much every day, and that's something I learned from him, and I'm still trying to live after that until this day. But even Patrick Lowe-Lim was on the team when I came up also, and he kind of took me under his wing, and obviously I took his spot, but at the same time he was super nice about it, and he pushed me, and whatever I needed to talk about something or anything like that, and he could help me with that, anything. And
I've heard
great teammate.
I've heard some really great stories about Lalim in that regard, that he's willing to do anything for his teammates. Go ahead, Dwayne.
I've always been such a big fan of Patty Lalim. I was a huge fan of his helmet. The Marvin the Martian design was always my favorite. Like, I wore the Cujo design that Curtis Joseph wore, back, because I used to watch, next to Don Akashik, I used to watch a lot of Cujo. Those were my two favorite goalies. But like my mom in particular, her favorite cartoon was always Marvin the Martian. She loved Marvin the Martian, and she used to draw pictures of him. So I always envision at some point here, I know I'm old and washed up now, but, in men's league, I want to get my next helmet, when I get one professionally painted, do something for my mom and involving like one of Patty's designs of Marvin the Martian. Just because they were always so cool, man. Every team you went to, they were always the coolest designs. And like, I've heard, he's been on the Instigators here in Buffalo a couple times with Petey and Rivet, and I always hear the same stories, man. He's such a good guy and a great teammate. Not unlike Cully when he did about Jet Campbell.
I did not last 4 years in Ontario League on Talent. I was a glue guy. Okay, Dwayne, I'm about to send you a picture of my favorite Jonas helmet. Will you once you get it, will you upload it?
Yeah, I'll upload it for sure. One other thing too, I do have a question here from a fan. I know we got you on for a little bit longer than we expected, but from Samantha at Samantha CP_. Fun story: when Brian Boucher took his helmet off mid-play, refs blew the play down. When Jonas Enroth did it, he was a boss, and refs did not blow down the play, and he was forced to make a masculine save. I remember that.
Hey, was it a glove save?
No, it was like
without your helmet on.
It was like a backdoor pad save, but it was a pretty nice save. And I see it comes across my feed every once in a while on Instagram and stuff like that. So it's always pretty fun to see it.
There's a game-winning goal on Johnny Cullen when he played up in the O, where his helmet was dislodged from his head, and the rest
Time out. They had this Ottawa 67s team. They had Tyler Toffoli, Sean Monahan, Cody Ceci, and Peter Mrazek was the other goalie, right? And real quick, and in Ottawa, Jonas, it's the old Senators rink. You have to both come out of the same tunnel, okay? And every time Peter Mrazek would mention something like Chudesny Yamudak, I didn't understand it. It wasn't Russian, like I just said, but it was Czech. And I'm like, the fuck is this guy saying to me? Until my last year, my backup goalie in Windsor, Yaroslav Pavelka, I'm like, Yaro, find out what he's saying. And he eventually came back up to me. He's like, oh, Cully, he called you a face monkey. I'm like, a fucking face monkey? So, no, but the video in question, so you remember how the rules used to read, once our helmet comes off, the play's dead?
Sorry, you cut out. I couldn't hear your question there.
Well, you know when our helmets come off, the play's supposed to be whistle dead?
Yeah.
So it's overtime, and the guy goes to my blocker side. I poke check him. He lands on top of me. My bucket falls off. The puck goes behind the net. I make eye contact with the ref. I'm like, buddy, come on, throw me a bone. Sure enough, Monahan grabs it, wraps it around. I didn't look as cool as you, but I still tried to dive and stop it. But they called it a goal. And it was a nationally televised game on Sportsnet Rogers. And it's just so funny. You see me trying to go after the whole 67s team and Mrazek. It's good times. Good times.
Tell them about your comments at the end of the game.
Oh, I got fined. So they interviewed me after the game, Jonas, and David Branch, who runs the league. That was when they were big on safety. Remember, they changed the equipment for the forwards, added the shoulder caps and stuff. And they interviewed me after the game, and I said, tough loss. I didn't know this was the 1940s, and goalies were supposed to play without helmets. Thought it was safety first, but whatever. So strictly for that, I got a $500 fine. Thank God Bob Bugner paid it for me. But
that wasn't too bad, I thought.
No,
not good comment.
Right? Yeah.
But,
yeah, man. You, especially in these playoffs right now, you see how bad the officiating was last night. I mean, it's a crime apparently. It's a crime apparently to criticize officiating and it was really, really bad last night, man. It's been a long time since I've seen reffing and officiating make headlines the way it has over the past 2 weeks in these NHL playoffs. There's a line between letting them play and then kind of dictating the game the way they have. And I forget who it was that hit from behind last night. That was brutal to watch, man. That was how do you not call that, especially as a referee staring straight at it? I'll get off my TED talk right now. I don't want to get too deep into that because then I won't stop. But the officiating has been very, very questionable. Over the last 2 weeks in the playoffs.
I got a couple quick questions. So for that lockout, I ended up in the Ontario Reign system back when they were an East Coast League team. And I was there with Darcy Cooper and JF Berube. I don't know if you ever crossed paths with those guys.
So many name drops, Cully.
Well, fuck. I mean, he might know him. But I was curious.
I know JF Berube.
Great guy, great partner. But how often do you get sent to the coast as a major junior guy and the two guys in front of you end up playing in the National League? You know what I mean? Fuck, throw me a bone here. Two questions in one. Your first win in Toronto, the 3-2 game. What was that like?
Yeah. Well, I remember it was one of those Hall of Fame nights. And I believe it was on a Saturday night. Yeah, it was a Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, because I got one of those towels. I don't really remember much from the game, but I do remember the overtime and the shootout.
You were unreal at shootout.
I beat J.S. Jigger.
Oh, I love Jiggy.
Yeah,
another one of my favorites.
Yeah, me and Milsey. Well, I know Milsey watched videos of the other teams, the shooters in shootouts all the time. So I started doing that too, and we pretty much knew every move they were gonna do if it would be a shootout. So we had a good technique, I guess, to find a way to stop them.
What's crazy to me is that you hold a record. You became the first goaltender in NHL history to record all three of his first wins in shootouts. Now, the second one, the 10-rounder against the Montreal Canadiens. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So you said you go through and you watch some of the shootout guys. For sure, you're not watching the 10th through the 15th guy, right? You're not watching the fourth liners in pre-scout.
No, we watched like the 5 top guys.
Right. But you found a way to win that one. I think that's a cool record to have, man. And it just shows your tenacity. The one thing I loved about your shootout technique, because you weren't overly aggressive coming out, but was your ability to be patient, but to also match their speed at and starting your backwards momentum at the right time, right? And I always thought that was great. And you had active hands leading to whatever side. Love to see that. Something I teach my goalies. Was just really cool memories for me, and obviously for yourself. So I thought that was great to bring up.
Yeah,
for sure. It was. It became pretty special for me and for our team that we knew that every time we went into shootout that we had a really good chance to win the game because we had really good shooters too, obviously. So both, I think Mills is probably the best goalie ever, or he's up there in shootouts too. So
I think he is. If not one, he's two.
That's definitely one of the points I wanted to bring up because I know initially when we were messaging about having you come on, part of it was right around when Ryan announced his retirement. We've been kind of blessed with a lot of great goaltending here in Buffalo. We had, obviously you mentioned earlier, we had Grant Fuhr on the show. It went from Grant to Hasek to Baran and then Miller. And then obviously we had you here, for a little bit. And, like I said, you were always one of my favorite goalies just to watch, just because of your size alone. And just the way you were able to play, utilizing your size, or lack thereof, But, what was it like, being partnered up with Millsy for those few years? Because one of the things I always took from Ryan Miller was, he was calm. I remember, have you ever seen the movie The Replacements? That movie with Keanu Reeves, the football movie? Well, Gene Hackman's the coach. Gene Hackman's the coach in it, and he made a comment. It always used to remind me of Ryan. He used to, look at Keanu Reeves played the quarterback. He said, you're like a duck on a pond. Everything's calm on the surface. Everything on the exterior is on the surface, but below the surface, your feet are going a mile a minute. And that's what I always got from Ryan Miller. They always used to like to focus in on him before games. Kind of looking out on the ice with his stick. He'd always be one of the guys that go for a post-game interview because he was very, very philosophical with his answers. He's very detail-oriented. If you wanted a straight answer, an honest answer, and a guy who's going to give you all the details, the breakdowns, Millsy was a guy who could give that to you. And it was always fun to listen to him talk about whether it was a win or a loss. Like you mentioned, that was one of his big things with shootouts is he was a very, studied the players that would be shooting on him. What were their moves? What were their tendencies? What were their tells? It was always just interesting to see because, you didn't see a lot of that in a lot of goalies. He was just very, very, I like when he said when he came out of retirement that he wanted to go into some type of player development thing. I always said, absolutely, because that's right up his alley because he's always such a student of the game. So what was it like, like you said, he helped you a lot. What was it like being partnered up with him for a while? What was the compete like with him? Was it, what was the relationship? Do you guys still talk today? Did you guys, since he's announced his retirement, have you guys spoken at all?
No, I haven't, but you're spot on. He's always his post-game interviews are always pretty interesting to listen to, especially for a goalie. I feel like he says a lot of smart things, and he's obviously very thoughtful. And I still watch a lot of his games this past couple of years, and every time he had an interview, I tried to watch it too. And from playing with him, like I said, he taught me how to be prepared every day. I think when I came up, I thought I was just like show up at the rink and play every day, but he really showed how a professional is supposed to carry himself on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Cully. No, it's just, like you hit the nail on the head there. It was just, the definition of professionalism. There was a standard he did hold himself to on and off the ice. And there was probably a standard that he maybe held, his goalie partners to. This is what, I expect, and this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to win. And, he just seemed like the ultimate teammate too. And, people like to try and say that, he's not qualified for the Hall of Fame. Obviously not having a Stanley Cup hurts that. But in my opinion, you look down, he's possibly the greatest NCAA goalie that ever lived. It's hard to argue against that.
Maybe the best American outside of
Richter. You're right there. I think he's Hall of Fame worthy. I think his numbers speak for themselves. And, I hope that one day, I forget who votes on it, but they give him an opportunity to make his case. And, I know this city absolutely would have his back in that, because we saw a lot of great years under Ryan Miller, especially the Olympic year. I think he was the best goalie in the world, bar none. Like, there was nobody better at that point than him.
Yeah.
And like it's,
sure.
So I had a quick one. Just a couple of your accomplishments. I think it was in your first year. You were named one of the 3 stars of the week in April in 2011, right? Breaking into the league, especially being behind a guy like Ryan, right? And those aren't easy to win. And then it was cool for me that you were named to the all-rookie team in the 2011-12 season, right? And you were only the 6th player in the franchise to be named to that all-rookie team. Something to be so proud of, right? And I'm sure you are, but like I know us Sabres fans, our pride, we have a lot of pride in that and our players. And I know we're running late on time, and we'll try to finish this up quickly, but really appreciate your time. My one question is getting the late call up to the World Cup in for Team Sweden. What was that whole situation like?
What I couldn't hear you there. They cut off.
Getting called up to the World Cup of hockey team with Sweden, with whatever happened with Leonard. What was that experience like?
Well, for me, it wasn't that great because I was obviously the 3rd goalie. I didn't really get many reps in practice.
Welcome to my life, being the 3rd goalie, eh, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get a lot of reps in practice. I was probably with the team for 3 weeks, and that was right before I was going to go to Toronto. So I felt like I missed out on practice time, and I didn't really see a lot of pucks. And then right after the World Cup, I had to report for the Leafs training camp, and I think I only got 1 game in there before the season started, and I felt like I was catching up a little bit, actually.
And anytime you go into a new situation, right, like it's hard enough as it is, and not being able to have that extra time in training camp, I can't imagine, right? It's tough to get acclimated, only to the new city. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think all the World Cup guys had to show up like 2.5 weeks late for training camp. And obviously, like I said, I didn't play. I barely practiced. And I just felt like I had to play catch up the whole first half of that season.
Yeah, it's a shame, too, they haven't done the World Cup of hockey again since then, because that was a lot of fun to watch. But, mentioned that you went in to replace Robin Lehner. He obviously last night, I don't know if you got to catch any of that game, but he had himself quite a game last night. Also another former Sabres goaltender. Did you ever have any type of a relationship with him? Do you still talk to him at all? Or are you happy to see that he's, fine, especially after kind of what went down here in Buffalo, kind of found a way to, another, like a career resurgence and seeing him doing so well for himself?
I don't really know Robin, actually. We never really crossed path. Things
I
I played
have.
against him a bunch of times, obviously, but I never.
I got
Yeah,
a
I'm
good
sure in
story.
OHL,
I
right?
got a good story. Yeah. So
Yeah. So I don't know Robin too well, actually.
So it's his first. He got drafted by the Senators. They assigned him to Sault Ste. Marie, and that year in Kingston, I was a backup. So you know how usually like the tough guys, the fighters, and warm up circle the red line. Well, I took it upon myself as the backup to do that. So here it is, and you know, now this isn't a shot, but a lot of European goalies tend to be built more like Miller or like Pecorine, like long, right? And I chirp. I'm coming across Robin Leonard. I chirp him, and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, you want to go?" And he lifts up his helmet, and it's like a scene from Rocky IV. Fucking Ivan Drago staring back at me, and I said, "Sorry, sir. Have a nice game." And I fucking got the hell out of there. So, hey,
Yeah, it's probably the wrong guy to mess with.
yeah, but my one stat in my 6 games in the Sault Ste. Marie between him and Matt Murray, I was 6-0. The joke's on me though. They're getting $5 schmil a year, and I'm working goalie clinics for 50 an hour. So no, it's all in good fun.
Before we let you go, Jonas, I wanted to bring up the Collie brought it up earlier, the masks you wore while you're in Buffalo.
Those
are dope.
One, buddy.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite masks too.
Did Dave Art do those?
Yeah, that's probably my favorite one too, actually.
Yeah.
Did Dave Art do all yours? Who painted your helmet?
Yes, he's been painting my mask since I was probably 18 or something like that.
That's awesome. That really is. My one last question was the 2013 World Championship, and you were named to meet the All-Star team and the best goaltender. How cool is that, man? And what an honor. The Trey Canor bringing that back home. I remember seeing pictures of the celebrations of you guys going back home, and you stood on your head, buddy. Yeah. Real quick, okay? Played 100 more minutes than everybody else. 8 goals against, 1.15 goals against, okay? 9.5, a 956 save percentage with 2 shootouts. Are you kidding me? Couple clicks,
pumping Yoni's tires. I love it.
Yeah, that was obviously my highlight of my career so far. I think it was in my hometown, Stockholm, too. So I got a chance to play from my family and friends. So it was pretty amazing
because you guys won at home. Do you know what I'm talking about? Right, like right when you guys won, it feels like everybody in Sweden was there. You know what I mean?
And obviously, it's a big thing over in Europe there. So it was awesome, great experience.
No, I'm so happy that we got to have you on, and I mean it, man. Dwayne said it earlier, but in a time where it was only big goalies could make it, you really
were an inspiration.
And I mean this, brother. You gave us little goalies or shorter goalies, under 6 foot goalies. You gave us the belief that we could do it, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I really mean that. I appreciate what you've done for the game and the position of goaltending.
Yep, and again,
that's awesome to hear. Obviously, I have a soft spot for shorter goalies too. I barely watch those 6'6" guys play anymore. I just watch the shorter guys in the NHL. And I think it's I feel like the trend is going back. I don't think you have to be 6'6" anymore. A lot of guys say that the perfect sweet spot is probably 6'1", 6'2", and then we have a few guys that are a little bit shorter and still can play, and that's I still watch them every day too. Every time Yusuf Saros play or Bernier play, I try to watch their highlights.
Jonas, I noticed it was around the 2015 draft where, goalie, executives started to smarten up and saying, hey, just because he's big doesn't mean he can play. And I think you had a big part to do with that. And I mean it. Congrats on an unbelievable career. coming from a fellow goalie. You were an idol of mine, somebody that, you know, as I became a fan of the game and advanced through my career to becoming a student of the game, you were somebody that I watched and studied, and I just wanted to thank you for everything that you've done for the game and congratulate you on an unbelievable career. And not only that, thank you for taking the time to come on with us. I know that, you know, we have thousands of listeners, and I know that they're going to love this interview, man. Very well spoken, humble, a candid man, and not only very intelligent.
Will you stop? I mean, what am I supposed to say now? Like, holy crap, you're like, seriously, like you're just pumping his tires so much. What am I supposed to say at this point? Hey, Jonas, thanks. I'll see you later. Like, come on, man. Like, he's going on. It's like, well, you might as well hire him to be like give speeches at weddings or something at this point. Like, Jesus Christ, we're talking about that. Yeah, it's fine, but. What the hell am I supposed to say now?
Well, it's not only that, but look at the fucking guy's hair. It could be Henry Lundqvist in a fucking Pantene commercial. Hey, look good, feel good, stop the puck good.
Yeah, right? Jesus. No, Yoni.
You got any last question?
No, I just, you know, thanks again for coming on with us, Yoni. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope maybe someday down the line we can have you on again. I know we did one of the big things we did that was, you know, the fans liked a lot was we did a watch party of particular games and the Sabres past. And, you know, we'll bring in former players. The last one we did is with Steve Shield, the 96-97 game, obviously well before anybody's time. But we had, you know, Razor in there with us and a few of their alumni. And we watched the game all together and we commented on the fans really dug into that. But our plans are to do one from those teams that maybe you played on, and maybe if you'd want to join us for that, that'd be a lot of fun. So, you know, maybe sometime in the summer.
Sure. I had a lot of fun talking to you.
Hey, you know,
I had a lot of fun talking to you guys. Obviously,
for sure.
Obviously, goals have a special bond between each other, and I could feel the bond between us already. So
I love it. I love it.
One last tidbit. In his 2013 historic World Hockey Championship performance, he was a part of a group that became first host country to win a tournament since the Soviet Union did it in '86. So another couple clicks for the old boy. Okay, we really appreciate it, man. Like I said, and I'm sorry, Dwayne, but I mean it. He meant a lot to me. He was playing in the league while I was trying to get to the league. But Jonas, congrats on everything. Good health to you and your family.
Actually, one thing I would like to ask him. You'll take a second to ask or answer is, you know, obviously you see the state of the Sabres and where they're heading now. Just from your own experience playing the National, what's your perception and your outliers look on the team now, where they sit and where they're going? You know, what do you think that they need to do to get to kind of right the ship? You know,
what an easy question.
I know, but like, you know,
hey, no, don't worry. Jonas has the blueprint that we've been waiting for this whole time.
You know, he played in the National. You know,
Yeah, I mean, it's very tough. I don't know. Should you trade Eichel? Should you keep him? I don't know. Who knows? And Kevin is a first-year GM. He's in a tough spot. But I'm really pulling for or cheering for for Kevin Adams. I had him as a coach. I think
great guy. Great guy.
Yeah, great guy. And I really hope he can figure something out there because it's been. I think I was the last goalie that played in the playoffs with the Sabres. Came on relief for Mosey against Philly there.
Yeah.
That was the next point I was make is like you were part of the very last playoff team, you know. So a lot of these kids, you know, and you know, not even kids. I guess that Michael's almost a veteran now. They don't know what it's like to play in the NHL playoffs and how loud that building can be, and how like. And I've said it so many times. This Sabres fan, this generation of Sabres fans now don't even realize that those walls can shake when you have 10,000 fans outside in the plaza losing their goddamn minds. Like, it's just such a special feeling. It's more special in Buffalo than anywhere else because we're such a phenomenal hockey city, and it's such a shame that over the last decade, we haven't been able to figure it out. But you're right. Kevin Adams takes a lot of pride in this city. Whenever he talks about Buffalo, you know, he takes a ton of pride that this is where he is from and this is where he grew up. And, you know, even though he didn't play here in his career, he lives here, and after his career, he chose to come back here. And, you know, I hope you're right, man. I think Eichel's days are numbered in Buffalo from the way kind of like the narrative is. Same thing with Sam Reinhart. You know, we are fortunate enough to have won the first overall pick in the draft lottery, so that's a step in the right direction. And we'll see what happens here, man. But, you know, from a goaltending perspective, I think, you know, another former Swede, or another, you know, Swede is Linus Ullmark, had a great season last year. And the year before that, you know, obviously injuries hurt him. But, you know, I hope we can get him re-signed and we can develop, you know, UPL. And who my opinion is probably the future franchise future franchise goalie of this organization, Eric Portillo, over in Michigan, had a phenomenal freshman season with Michigan. I hope that, you know, the moves they've been making now, and whatever these moves that are coming the next month, whatever they decide to do with Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart, and looks like Rasmus Ristolainen, I hope those are the right decisions, man, because this city is so hungry for some success.
And with that being said, Jonas, if you find that magical blueprint Jonas, if you find that magical blueprint that Dwayne asked you for, let us know. But I mean it. You've been a blast. I hope to have you back on. All the best to you and your family. And on behalf of all Buffalo Sabres fans and young goalies, including Dwayne, we appreciate you coming on, man. What an interview. Great stuff, man. All the best to you and your family and what's next. And go Sabres, brother.
Yeah,
Go
for
Sabres.
sure. Stay in touch, and we can probably find a time we can come on and chat again. I would love to do it again. So
definitely,
for
just
sure,
make sure.
Stay in touch
Just make sure we get the right time zones this time again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good idea.
This has been episode 65 of Two Goalies, One Mic, one for the ages. Another big thanks to Jonas Enroth, you know, all-time Sabre favorite. For Dwayne Steinel, I'm Johnny Cullen. We'll see you for episode 66.